Hello, guys. Welcome back to Classic Mix-Up, episode 19. I'm Rosario, and that's Riley.
What's up?
Classic Mix-Up podcast. Like I said, episode 19. I swear, every time we start one of these, I look at the episode number we're on. I can't believe we've already done this much, but it's been going well. So.
And 19 is like 19 weeks on their own of listening to music. It's crazy. Like,
19. That's almost half a year.
Yeah. Crazy. It doesn't feel that long.
Yeah, no, we've been going strong. So
start this up, and I was like, "Fuck it."
Yeah, we always do this thing where we talk before the podcast, and then we do the podcast, and then we talk after the podcast. And we were talking a lot before the podcast, so we're like, we should probably start it up. And I'm like, yeah, we probably should start it up. We were talking about the new Tyler the Creator single that just dropped, Dogtooth. It's definitely, it's a good song. It's been stuck in my head. So
yeah, I saw him in concert. And last year, actually,
for the Call Me If You Get Lost tour.
It was awesome. It
must have been, I bet. That's probably my I was gonna say it's my favorite Tyler album, but this is kind of weird. I think my favorite Tyler album is Wolf, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, I know it's like a lot. I know it's definitely a little more out there and way less refined, but something about it for me.
You're an OG Tyler fan.
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, I've only been listening to him for.
I loved Odd Future as a kid.
I didn't really get into rap too heavily, at least that kind of side of it, that more underground type, until like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. So like, I'd say like when Igor dropped, what was that, 2019? I'd say when Igor dropped is when I first got into Tyler. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an OG fan, but something about Wolf has always just kind of clicked with me.
Yeah, it was like, for me, it was, I would say like after Wolf dropped and then Cherry Bomb. Like, it was a weird album to get into Tyler.
Very weird album to get into for sure, but
it probably goes like Goblin. So it probably goes like his worst to best are probably like Bastard, Goblin, Cherry Bomb,
Wolf. Yeah, and then probably
Call Me If You, or I would say Igor, Call Me If You Get Lost. Then
I'd say even Igor's hard to get into. At least for me, it's never been my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people love Igor.
Oh, a lot of people love it. I'm not saying a lot. I mean, a lot of people.
No, you know what? I like Call Me If You Get Lost better than Igor, but
me too. Yeah, definitely me too. My sister, I just prefer when he's rapping. I mean, obviously that's like a basic take, I guess. But
my sister got into Tyler the Creator through Igor though, so it's like two different. Like she loves Tyler and I love Tyler, but it's two different Tylers.
Different, yeah. Well, that's kind of, I guess, what's like his strong suit is that he could do that type of thing. Like,
and it's the different characters like Igor, Wolf.
Yeah, totally.
All this kind of stuff.
Well, I guess the reason that we're talking so much about Tyler is just because he's dropping that deluxe album / like side B to Call Me If You Get Lost. March 31st, I think, is when that side B Tyler deluxe is dropping. So so I think if you remember, like early on, it was like episode 3. I think we did like a rundown of all the new music that dropped. It was like a big like Friday. And I think we're planning on doing that again with last Friday, which was the like 20 something, like 24th, which a few albums dropped. JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown dropped, and a couple others. And then on the 31st, a couple more are dropping. So I think for episode 20, we're gonna do like a kind of rundown of our thoughts on all this new stuff coming out.
Take a step back, have some fun actually listening to music.
Yeah, those are always like some of my favorite episodes we do, because instead of doing like a more in-depth analysis, we kind of just give our very base thoughts and opinions, because it's just like a first listen, first opinion type of thing. It's no real like analysis going on. So so I guess contrary to that, today we have our normal format, which if you don't know is we're gonna talk about 2 albums today. One that I chose, one that Riley chose. So if you don't have anything else for the kind of intro, I guess we can get started.
No, I guess we could do a little spiel of like, if you're listening to us for the first time, and no matter how you're listening to us, you could find us on any streaming.
A lot of places. Spotify, Apple
YouTube.
Podcasts.
You could see our beautiful faces on YouTube.
Yeah, if you're listening on Spotify and you want to see what we look like, we're on YouTube.
Yeah, Classic Mix-Up Pod. Or just
And if
Classic
you
Mix-Up.
found us on YouTube and you would prefer to take us on the go, you can find us on Spotify and other
And
podcast services.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, besides that, I hope you guys enjoy this week. It should be a good week this week. We have
A couple good ones.
Yeah, we have Angelic Hoodrat by Kenny Mason and Trick by Alex G.
Yep.
So pretty opposite albums on a spectrum of, rap versus this indie folk rock, but at the same time, Kenny Mason brings this kind of like punk rock element to rap, which is very interesting. So I don't know which one you want to dive into first.
I guess we could do Angelic Hoodrat since we were talking about that in the pre-show. You said you were really enjoying it. You want to get into that?
Yeah. So, actually, like I listened to the album a while, like a week and a half ago, because we were supposed to originally record this episode.
Right. Yeah, we're a week late.
But I got sick,
and I had a freak trip to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'll have to ask you how that.
That was very on the fly. It was like 3 days before I left. We decided we were going. So, but anyways,
what did you guys do?
My college's hockey team made the NCAA playoffs, and originally they planned for there to be a bus to take students on the trip.
Yeah.
Originally there was only one bus that could take I believe it was 35 people or something like that. And I didn't get on that bus. It was like a lottery drawing. I didn't get on it, whatever. So I didn't think I was going. And then literally 3 or 4 days before the trip, so a week ago, some alumni raised money for another bus. So then the school was able to get another bus, take a total of 70 students to the game. Wow. And I was able to go. So yeah, but like I said, I didn't find out about it until pretty last minute. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Cool. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, a bus from Upper Peninsula of Michigan to Pennsylvania, by the way, which was a 20-hour ride.
Yeah, that's like a day. Did you guys?
Yeah, it was a. So on the way there, we left at 5 p.m. and rolled in at 1 p.m. the next day. So drove all through the night and morning. Wow. And then on the way back, we left at 9 a.m., drove through an entire day, and then got back at 5 a.m. the next day. It was It was an experience. But.
Was it fun at least? Were you with your boys?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was with my friends, yeah. Unfortunately, we lost the playoff game, so we've been eliminated. But crushed. Yeah, they got crushed.
It wasn't just they lost. Didn't they lose 11 or something or 8?
It was 8. Yeah. Well, so the whole first round of the playoffs was like that. So we lost 8-0. Harvard lost 8-0. Michigan beat the team they were playing 11-1.
Yeah.
Minnesota beat the team they were playing 9-2. There was a lot of blowouts in college hockey this past weekend. So kind of unfortunate, but it was a fun trip though. I mean, except for obviously the outcome of the game, it was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a cool little weekend I had.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, in turn means I didn't have any time to listen to those new releases. I only listened to the Peggy and Danny, the Scary and the Hose album. But other than that, I haven't heard anything. So
you got to scare the hose away. That's their job.
Yeah. Got to. I mean,
yeah,
got to do it. So
that's
anyways.
Get into Angelic Hoodrat.
Yeah, get into Angelic Hoodrat. Yeah. So I guess I'll
break it down.
Yeah, sure. I'll have a little introduction. So yeah, so Kenny Mason is kind of an up and coming rapper who works a lot with JID, Smino. He's worked with a couple of guys kind of in that scene, so he's getting a little more well known, which is great. He's a really interesting artist to me. He's honestly one of my favorites. At one point, I would even consider him one of probably my top 3 or 5 favorites. So basically, I just selected his debut album, Angelic Hoodrat, gave it to Riley because it's one that I really love and it's one that I thought he would appreciate and maybe not seek out by himself. So I'm glad to hear you like it. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was great because I hadn't really listened to. We'd talk about Kenny Mason, all that kind of stuff, but it was kind of
I bring him up a lot. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I really only listened to Hit, which is very different from the rest of the album. It is the last song on Angelic Hoodrat, and I think it exemplifies the best aspects of Kenny Mason, though. I think a lot of the songs I like find like are kind of like lose like kind of lose their point of like sound, almost like their sonic like meaning as
Sure, like
time
their
goes on.
direction.
Because, like, yeah, because like I feel like certain songs, like I think even Chevron or PTSD, or even like going down to Angels Calling and My Dad, or like You and a Gang and Exxon, like those kind of split songs kind of do it, where it's almost like they're very different from each other, but
Right.
it's just like I don't know, it kind of ruins it, especially like I don't know. But I love the certain songs that kind of do like the pop punk, like because you always told me that he does like different stuff, and all the kind of stuff that he does for like Dreamville
Hmm.
is very different from his rapping. Like
Yeah,
his
he has a very wide range,
yeah.
I would say. I think he so this now being 3 years old, I'd say this is very like kind of entry level. Like this is obviously the first thing he's done, and kind of him still figuring out. I'd say figuring out his direction.
Yeah.
So this album, it's kind of up and down. You know, it's far from perfect. There's
Right.
I say there's like a track run towards the back half where it's kind of getting a little bit of a lull where a lot of the songs are a little more on the boring side, but
Right.
I basically I don't know. I picked this one because I think it's a good introduction. You know, being his debut album, I think it's kind of interesting to hear his not so refined sound, and this is also his most rap centric project.
Mhm. Which I think
With
he's an amazing rapper. Like
he
I
really
think
is, which is kind of what I wanted to highlight with this one. Um, I do think that his next album, which is a sequel to this album,
mm,
it would be his Angelic Hoodrat Supercut, which came out in 2021.
mm.
I think that album has like no wasted space. I think that's like a near perfect album, and I definitely prefer it. But I just prefer this as like a starting point, so that's why I decided
Yeah,
to go with
and
this one.
you know kind of like it was kind of like at first listen it kind of disappointed me that this happened, but at the second listen I kind of liked that though I like took those parts for granted. So I loved how certain songs actually transitioned into each other. Like I'd say the
Mhm.
first half of the album super strong, and the second half really almost like forgets to like connect each
I,
other.
I I agree with that. I
Because like
definitely agree with that.
Angelic Hoodrat is probably like one of my top three songs on the album, and it
Mhm.
perfectly transitions to another one of my favorite songs is just PTSD.
PTSD. Yeah,
Just
that whole run from like 1 through 5 is like heavy hitters, and then it
when they
slows
all
down a little
you
bit.
could like I I listen to it straight through. I don't shuffle that. I mean, that's how we usually listen to the albums,
Of
right?
course,
So, it's really nice when I'm like driving and like it like the barking at the end of Angelic Hoodrat leads right into the barking into
into
PTSD.
PTSD.
It
Yeah,
kind of morphs the barks and then it's like heavy hitting barks instead of like the faint barks.
yeah,
I
it gets
thought it was really
louder.
good. And the same thing PTSD into Lean into Chevron and all that kind of stuff. Like
Right.
this, which I really liked. I think that's what like even though like those songs like especially PTSD to Lean, the tempo kind of switches and they're totally different songs.
Definitely.
Like even PTSD to Lean, like or Chevron, Lean to Chevron are those are three different songs right there.
Right. That shows kind of his range, like the
Yeah,
three totally
he has
different.
great range. He can sing pretty well too. He
Hmm.
uses auto tune in certain songs, like not throughout the whole time he's singing, just almost like to distort the music. Like when there's distortion in the beat, that's kind of when he uses auto tune, which I really like because it's not like a Travis Scott or Don Tolliver where
Type auto tune. Yeah, I know.
it's just like the whole song is auto tune and they couldn't carry themselves
No,
as
he uses it like he will. One thing that he'll do is like he'll build his verse won't be auto tuned, but then the verse will be like building, and then towards the end it will start to get like a effect on the voice, and
yeah,
then it will like lead into the chorus. Like so, for example, he does that on PTSD,
yes.
where right before he gets to the chorus, like the bridge before the chorus, where it goes like like the like who the fuck is he, bruh? He don't live on my street.
Yeah.
That part from there on out gets like that auto tune, and it's like feels like a kind of like rising, like it elevates and then it kind of drops into the auto tune part. It works out
Mhm.
really well.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I mean, I hate auto tune. Like I can't stress enough. Like like I really think auto-tune, if it's not used in a musically like tasteful way, like how Kenny Mason does it,
right, it's just annoying.
it takes it a like it just sounds like shit. Like it just sounds bad. Like if it's not there intentionally, like you do like I get it, it's used to make people sound better, but if it's just used the whole time, it's like it just
Right.
takes you out of the music a lot.
I
Like
think there's
I don't know. It
I think
just
there's ways to use it. Like if you look at like MGMT or
yeah.
like yeah, or like I don't know, like we said, Kenny Mason uses it pretty well. Or like what about like even like Tame Impala? You
Yeah.
know, the way that those guys like MGMT and Tame Impala uses it is they almost use it as another instrument and kind of
Yes.
use their voice as like an
Exactly.
extension of the music
Yeah.
instead of just layering it on top of like an already created song, which kind of just ruins
Yes,
it.
exactly. It's instead of being like instead of masking how bad that person sings or can't rap or anything
Right.
like Don Toliver or Travis
Right.
Scott.
Or like Cardi, like there's
My
videos
shot,
that go
I'm gonna throw
around.
my shots at Travis Scott because
Go
I think
ahead.
he's one of the most overrated rappers of all time. And like even Astroworld sucked booty cheeks. Like that shit sucked. Like only good song was Sicko Mode and Coffee Bean. That was my only two good songs.
You
And
would
I
like
don't
Coffee Bean, yeah.
Coffee Bean's best song, and I remember being in oh dude, it was sophomore year of high
Sophomore year.
school
Yep.
and being in like algebra 2 class and talking to all the kids in my class and they're all wearing their Astroworld merch and they're all like, dude, what about stargazing and Houston fornication and all this kind of stuff. I don't know why they turned into surfers, but like that's how it kind of sounded in my head. And I being always a diverse music listener, I listened to it like everybody else when it came out. And I was like, okay, Sicko Mode is good and Coffee, but like I would tell him, I'm like, Coffee Bean was his best song because it was the only song where he actually put out bars.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's the thing about Travis Scott is
like
that he can rap. Like if you could listen
yeah,
to
yeah,
this is kind of unknown. His freshman freestyle, he was on the XXL cover, I
yeah.
think in like 2013, and he was like spitting heavy bars. Like it didn't sound like Travis Scott at all.
No, I mean, I really think he's a heavy plant in the industry too. Like, I know that's kind
Yeah,
of like
sure.
his stereotype, but like, I think he's an example of someone that really has talent that got taken in by a bunch of producers and like manipulated into a certain way, which is fine for him. Now he's making billions of dollars on clothes and stuff and designing and shit, where I think that's where his real talent is like his fashion, you know, like
Right.
direction. He has great sense of color and like all this kind of shit that I could never get, which I love as a fashion guy too. But anyway, I think he's an instance of not a direct industry plug where he like came out of nowhere, but I think he was just found really early on by like Kanye and all those guys and like they're like, okay, let's get on this beat, and then he kind of got introduced to like autotune and all that kind of shit. So
And kind of went downhill from
Rodeo,
there.
well, like it was weird because Rodeo came out of nowhere, and then people were like, oh, what do you mean he has stuff on Bandcamp? I'm like, yeah, 3 songs, like it was kind of a weird upbringing, like
Yeah.
like I know. But anyway, back to the Angelic Hoodrat, like that's just like on the opposite of autotune being used to create a persona. Kenny Mason uses his strength of diversity as a driving factor in this album. Like I love like even songs like Metal Wings surprised me
I
because
love
it's
Metal
like
Wings.
that perfect mix of the punk and the rapping. Like I think at the end of Metal Wings was really fun. Like that little breakdown at the end. I think it's
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a freestyle or whatever, but it just sounds good. Like it was just pleasing. And then 30 was a really fun song too. Like I didn't hate 30 at all. But then I really didn't like Pretty Thoughts, which is a pure like punk rock like kind of sound.
Yeah, kind of more singing.
Well, it's distorted guitar, and I couldn't almost like put my finger on it, but I think in Pretty Thoughts, the guitar is actually sampled and not played in.
That might be the case. I
Because like
know.
I feel like after like I listened to this album like really quick again on my way home from school today.
And you thought you recognized it?
Well, no, I was just like the guitar was just sounded very flat and distorted, like almost like you were hearing a recording of a guitar over
Yeah.
well,
that's the thing about when we talk about like rock rap, which is kind of an evolving genre, is a lot of it is just like a producer creates a rock beat for a rapper. It's not like these guys are like, you know, not like Alex G like recording his own guitar, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, but I think it can be done really well because even like the old like the old school hip hop guys like sampled rock and sampled like funk music, like funk guitar and funk bass and all this kind of stuff for their beats, and it sounded way more smooth. But for some reason, this like punk revolution almost
it sounds kind of cheap in
flat.
the modern.
It sounds flat and blown out, which is I think intentional, but I don't know if that's something that I like.
Well, I think I'd say for something like Metal Wings, for example. So Metal Wings is like how it kind of is structured is in the verses. It has that like metal guitar in the back, like that kind of like loud, kind of sharp guitar. But and then when the chorus hits, it gets flipped into a trap beat and like the drums come in. Yeah. So I think the reason that the guitar probably sounds like that in a lot of these songs is because yes, there is like a rock and roll like electric guitar, but also that electric guitar then becomes part of a trap beat that the song transitions into. So it needs to be that pre-played, like added in.
Yeah, and it's probably a pre-recorded guitar as well.
Right, yeah. Just to kind of form the structure of the beats, which obviously are a lot of based on, electric guitar.
What I really realized about Kenny Mason is that his influence by like guys like off of SoundCloud, like XXX, and
like at the end of the day, he's like, just still like a trap artist, like from Atlanta. He's doing this totally off the wall thing with like the electric guitars and like metal samples and like R&B singing and stuff. But at the end of the day, he's still doing these kind of like rage beats that are popping off and on SoundCloud.
Yeah, it reminds me of it's like this weird mix of like I could hear Little Peep influences, I can hear Juice WRLD influences, I can hear Josiah influences.
Yeah, definitely X
influences, like it's all because I think all these guys were influenced by the same bands, like the trap, like all the guys that do trap or SoundCloud and kind of have that rock element to it, all are all inspired by punk bands or like it's all kind of interesting. Like, I mean, I don't know, like I think even the distorted guitar, you could literally go back even to like
you
Little
could trace
Skies.
It back, yeah.
Well, you can go like listen to like Little Skies, like
and it has that,
yeah, and or like the SoundCloud revolution. And I think that like Kenny Mason, like I would assume, I don't know his backstory, but this is kind of what I was thinking when I was listening without doing much research. But I feel like he's the second wave of those SoundCloud guys where like he may not have been on SoundCloud, where I think most of his hits are because of like streaming and that kind of stuff, like not like independent streaming. And he has the Atlanta influences and Dreamville connections, all this kind of stuff with JID and Earth Gang and all this kind of stuff. But then he also was influenced by the SoundCloud guys, Juice WRLD,
for sure. He's almost like a bridge between, and this is why he's such an interesting character, really, is because he's a bridge between like that kind of classic like rock rap where it's like X and Little Peep and them, and like this new wave of like the Dreamville rappers, like you said. He kind of takes elements from both, and he's really made his own kind of brand. To me, is he's one of those guys which is I always find interesting is you can hear the influences, but the music doesn't really sound exactly like anything else because he's really doing his own thing. Which is cool.
I could never put my finger on exactly what this sounded like, like where you couldn't say like, like remember when Josiah came out and everyone was like, it was after X died.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this sounds like X.
It's X. He's reincarnated.
Yeah.
And then it was just the guy that like did the same sound, but he turned out to not even sounding like X. It was just his first song. It was just like I don't know. But I would love to make a connection to this from this album to Griselda real quick.
Oh,
I think rap is having a resurgence of sampling and diversity of sampling because we see guys like Kenny Mason, we see guys in Dreamville, we see Griselda, we see Boldy, we see even the resurgence in the popularity spike of Doom and Madlib and The Alchemist and
Right.
Earl, and
people are doing obscure samples again.
so much sampling, dude. Like, and I commend these guys because they have to go through hoops and they give up so much money to these companies that own the original songs.
Yeah.
Because they love the music. They find these samples that fucking hit. And you can have a punk rock trap album do the same thing as like a Buffalo rap thing like Griselda.
Right.
Or Alchemist in New York working with Joey Badass or Earl or even Earl Sweatshirt. Like, the sampling is back in hip hop and I love it.
Which is incredible. I mean, that's like we've talked about it so much. Just go back and watch the Dilla episodes of this podcast. It's like we love hearing these really cool and complex and unique samples. Like it makes my heart happy to hear these.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why this is getting to the Peggy album that we're gonna be talking about next week, but
yeah,
I've already listened to it and you've
me
already
too.
listened to it.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I don't hear Peggy and I hear shit. Because it's all like he just samples such good shit and he has such good sound. Like,
yeah, there's like so much going on.
It could sound, to someone that doesn't like sampling or doesn't like production, could be like, "What the fuck is this?" But it's like, his sound is so sonically him and so sonically unique and so sonically new that it's just like, oh, it's so pleasing to hear.
Right.
Almost
to the point where it's overwhelming because it's like my virgin ears hearing Scaring the Hose. It definitely takes a certain.
Scaring the Hose because, only the nerds that are listening to Peggy are gonna like that
album. I'll say this: like, you know how like when we talked about Built to Spill and we talked about mostly their more accessible album, but also their lesser accessible album, like Perfect From Now On.
Yeah.
Like us in 2023, going back 25 years, talking about Perfect From Now On. I think in 25 years, people will probably look at JPEG Mafia and be like, oh, he was doing this. And like, maybe in 25 years, like that is just how rap is going to sound with these crazy noises going on, like overstimulation, wild samples, like stuff like that is going to become very normal.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think that like my theory for rap is that I think it's going to become more and more samples because I think that like the old guard of like protecting your samples will be gone because I think more and more producers are going to get to become the old guard, and a lot of those guys don't want their music to be
right. Yeah, I think as the estates of the 60s soul singers start, I think as the next generation comes in, like right now, in 2023, we're kind of sampling from like usually like the soul samples, I guess, usually are coming from like the 60s and 70s. I think maybe, in 20 years, we'll start sampling maybe the hip hop beats of the 90s. And like you said, those guys who made those beats will be way more willing to give them up than.
Yeah, because they were ripping beats off of.
Of course, yeah. God knows where. Yeah.
But I think like the Napster shit that happened in the 90s kind of fucked everything over too, because like the Marvin Gaye estate really realized that they were like a big, pull for like claiming all your shit. But I mean, I like to think that a lot of artists, if they get credit for the original beat or the original melody or whatever, they will be okay with it and they just get a little royalty from the music.
Right. I mean, as long as you get your royalties, it's yeah. But anyways,
it'll become more chill.
Yeah. So that was our little sample tangent, but
yeah.
Going back to Angelic Hoodrat, I guess I don't really remember what we were talking about, but I'm just gonna go through and give some of my favorite tracks. I think we've kind of hit the main points of the album, so I just want to talk about some of my favorites. So first off, we mentioned Lean. I think Lean comes at a point in the track list where, like you said, you go from PTSD to Lean to Chevron, which is like 3 huge shifts in tempo and style. And I think if you were to listen to any 3 tracks, I would recommend to do those 3 because that will give you the broadest idea of the scope that Kenny Mason can cover. Going from PTSD, which is a more hype, kind of crazy rap song, to Lean, which is a more slower tempo and a more relaxed and even emotional track. I'd say even going into the subject matter of Lean, it gets a little more personal. But then right after that, you go back into Chevron, which the flow is just so smooth and perfectly on beat. Like he goes back to that quick flow,
Yeah,
you know, and
the
that's
Kenny
just
Mason flow.
yeah. So I mean, we haven't really mentioned, I guess, the Kenny Mason flow, but like he is like a really like talented
I can
rapper.
say it. I'll literally say the flow. It'll be like
Yeah, it goes like in Chevron, the first lyric, it's pussy got juicy when she introduced me. I ain't got no whip, but she said she gonna scoop me, like that.
yeah,
Kind
he
of
just
like,
has that.
yeah. And it's one, and like it's like, so since it hits over and over again, it's just so constant and so repetitive. Is one that just like makes me feel, I don't know, makes me feel happy. Like
it's on hit. The end of
it's
Angelic
so
Hoodrat
like
is exactly that flow. Like it's the
it's so stimulating though. Like in Chevron when he says I DDT'd every beat that they gave me too easily. Like it's so stimulating to me. Like it makes me so, I don't know. It's something about it, but
yeah. In his
yeah.
voice is good too. It just
his voice is really cool. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about Metal Wings, which I will go back to a little bit. You know, another one of my favorite songs where it kind of starts off with that more heavy metal kind of guitars, and then it builds up to the chorus, which, like I said, kind of breaks down into a trap song. That's really cool. And then I think you mentioned Angels Calling / My Dad, which you said might not be a track that you like that much. So
I just didn't like the transition into My Dad.
Yeah,
like, I think
I was just gonna say,
bit.
I'm not sure what made Kenny want to make this a 2-part song.
Because first part was great. Like I love the intro to Angels.
Right. So I was just gonna say, Angels Calling has a great flow, great like, you know, that one I'd say Angels Calling is like not even a rock song. It's more of like I don't even know, but it's a slower tempo, and it definitely utilizes a ton of instruments, and so that's cool. But the back half, My Dad, is like way more laid back. It's like just a very simple beat, and Kenny's voice is kind of like filtered and a little distorted, kind of like low key on it. It's like mixed. It's mixed very oddly. So I'm not sure what the significance is of Angels Calling and My Dad being made one track. I'm sure there is something, but it's kind of an interesting track. Both halves are vastly different. So yeah, and then of course at the end you have Hit, which
is
ironically song. Yeah, right. Ironically, it's called Hit. It is the hit, the biggest song on the album, and it hits hard.
But it's so different from every other song on this album. Like I can't stress that. Like me and I mean, I think that a lot of people may not like Kenny because Hit is his best song, because it sounds nothing like his other music in like the best way possible though. Like he's showing that traditionally he can rap good and R&B sing and have a little variation in his voice.
Right. Yeah. So I agree with you that Hit is probably, of the entire album, Hit is probably the least. It's probably the most like mainstream appeal because it's a pretty typical trap beat, and it's Kenny doing his typical hard hitting, constant, fast flow. But I mean, something about it just comes together perfectly.
Yeah, you want to know a better intro to Kenny though is Stick, the Dreamville song.
Yeah, because Stick is insane.
Like when I listened to Stick for the first time when that album came out, the mixtape, I was like, I think I was with you, and I was like, what part's Kenny Mason? Or remember, was that with you? And I was like, what part's Kenny Mason?
Yeah, you're like, yeah, you. No,
I never heard it, and you're like, it's him. He's yelling Stick.
He's the one yelling Stick. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, no fucking way.
And he also does like he has a really short like second verse. So you know, JID has the 2 verses.
Yeah.
Kenny Mason has a really quick verse in between the 2 verses, but you would barely even know.
Like Hit.
No, not at all. He has so many different things he can do. I think if you like Kenny Mason, I do recommend listening to his next album because it just opens up now a whole new list of new things he can do. And it's like where does it, like, he's so talented. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was really good. Yeah.
Another thing I love about Hit is the like skits, like in between the chorus and the verses, like the interludes. It makes me laugh like literally every single time when it's like when the guy, I said the guy, he's like, so what? Are you the middleman? And then the other guy's like stuttering, and then he goes, are you the middleman? And then the guy goes, yeah. And then the guy goes, okay.
He's like,
and then the song starts.
He's like, yeah, you make You make 6?
Yeah, he goes,
100?
you make half of what he makes, and he goes, yeah, and then he goes, what you make? 6 bands? He goes, what you make? 6? And then he goes, what you make? And then the guy goes 6, and he goes 600, and the guy goes, yeah, and he goes, no, 6 bands. It's just really fun.
And you make half of that? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
he goes, what do you spend it on? He goes, I don't be splurging on shit.
Yeah.
You gotta listen to the song because I can't do it justice. But
it's such a good song.
It's fucking hilarious, and the flow is incredible. So yeah, highly recommend. But
it's such a good song.
Yeah,
like
this whole album, like
songs, like I think that song and Angelic Hoodrat and PTSD are songs that made me re-listen to it. That I was like, oh man, I want to
hear those again.
Yeah, like I'll listen to the whole album again to hear those songs
for sure. Yeah, and those are the songs that I'd say his strong suit on this album. It's actually quite the contrary on his next album and his recent EP. I'd say the strong songs on this album are the ones where he's just having fun, rapping fast, saying whatever. Yeah, just rapping. I'd say the more weaker spots on this album are the ones where it gets a little more dark, emotional, a little slower. I think he really did a great job improving that for his next projects. So he's a lot more well-rounded of an artist now. But yeah, this is an album that, at least for those really fast, upbeat rapping songs, just makes me really happy. It reminds me kind of the spring and summertime a lot because I think that's either when the album came out or when I found it was summer. And so I don't, whatever it was 2020 when this came out, like kind of, quarantine, like it reminds me of those times, but like good memories. So
yeah.
Definitely one of my favorites. I'm glad you liked it. So
yeah, I like it. That's pretty good.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So like we mentioned our tracks that we recommend checking out. It's a really, really fun listen. So yeah, I recommend. Anything else before we, I guess, transition?
No, I'm set. I think
cool.
If I were to give 3, it would be Hit, obviously, Angelic Hoodrat, and PTSD. Those songs are just good.
Cool. Yeah. And then I guess if I for me to give 3 different ones, I kind of already said it, but I'll say Lean, Chevron, and I'll go Metal Wings. Those will be my 3. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're on to the album that I gave Rosario, which is kind of this indie rock folk. Now it's becoming a staple, I would argue.
Kind of had a resurgence, you would say?
Yeah, I would say more of a resurgence, but almost like it's kind of gone mainstream, which is the album Trick by Alex G. Alex G is like very indie folk, kind of this same breath as like Phoebe Bridgers, kind of like this soft, pop folk, new wave folk, whatever we've been talking about.
Sure.
Released in 2012, Trick is like Alex G's magnum opus. Like he's released music, every few years since then. But this album is just the first album that, this album's very new to me. But I would describe it now in hindsight after listening to it that it's like his magnum opus, or this introduction to Alex G, his best album by far. Has his most poppy hits, easiest to listen hits, most interesting hits to, kind of just get to know Alex G as an artist. So,
for sure, yeah, I agree with you in your analysis that it's his best album. So I've seen Alex G talked about a ton all over the place, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. So when his new album, his most recent album dropped, God Save the Animals, I thought I would listen, and I wasn't really into it. It was very like electronic-y, totally different direction than Trick. Like this is way different. Yeah. And I liked Trick way more. On paper,
like folk kind of.
Yeah, it is. It's which is kind of one of my things that I like. So what I was gonna say is, on paper, it seems like a record that I should like a lot.
Yeah.
It didn't fully click with me on the first listen. On the second listen, which was today, I found more songs that I liked, and I found that my gripes that I might have had with it on the first listen were suppressed a little. So I think it's kind of an issue of just like kind of mind state and maybe just knowing what you're getting into, because it's a very interesting and unique album, I would say. Wouldn't say I've quite heard anything like this.
I think I think it's really good because he really separates himself from the pack with this album.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
He said early on in his career that he's going to be in the same breath as like Phoebe Bridgers, but it's not, he doesn't sound like Phoebe Bridgers at all.
He
Like,
doesn't sound like anyone, which is kind
no,
of the
he's
I
not
guess that's
rock,
probably
he's
the
not
struggle
pop,
that I
he's not
had.
folk, he's
No,
not indie, he's his own thing.
it's almost like Kenny Mason with the genre blend. He
Yeah.
kind of goes a lot of different directions, and I think
Yeah.
in a weird way, like the cover of the album, which if you haven't seen it, it's a dog running down the aisle of a church, but it's also looks like it's like the quality looks like it's from like probably like 1990,
Yeah.
and the name of the album Trick is written in blue letters with like MS Paint, or like
I love it.
It's yeah. So what I was getting at is I think the cover matches the music, which is extremely random and somewhat confusing.
Yeah, I love it.
I think I love it too. I think the album is
every listen to this album, I think it just kind of makes me a little bit more warm inside.
It definitely has that feeling to it, yeah. And it also it starts to make, to me, I've out of my 2 listens, it's made more sense the second listen because it is somewhat confusing. It's a bit of a wild ride, because some songs are predominantly folky, but some are more poppy, and some, like, say, Advice are like straight up rock.
Yeah.
So and most utilize fusions of all of the above.
Yeah, it's
so
not a confusing blend either, where I don't think that any of these songs won't surprise you. It's not gonna be like, whoa, what the fuck is this? It's like, it's more of like, oh, okay, like I dig it, like,
Right, but it just might not be what you're expecting.
Yeah, and I also think that this album is back heavy, aside to Advice, but
I completely agree with that.
But it's only 37 minutes long. So if it's a song that's kind of like, oh, like what the fuck is this? Like a lot of songs in the middle of the album, like I would even say like Trick, Cute, and So are all kind of songs that are kind of like, oh, okay, like I get what's going on here, but what's next?
Yeah, I'll be straight up. I didn't really need any of those songs. Like the first 3 songs are all pretty good and pretty normal. Then it really takes a left turn with string, but like I'm okay with it. It gets weird, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Advice I love a lot, and then it starts to get a little just like a little all over the place. But
yeah. And I gotta go with the you gotta point out the TikTok favorite, Mary.
Of course, Mary. Yeah, I like that song a lot.
I love the lyrics in Mary. Every time I listen to Mary, I am like, what the fuck is this song? Like, I'm always like, what is the lyrics? He's always like the lips and the hips, bro. Like,
it's a little uncomfortable, but it is quite catchy in a weird way.
Yeah,
and it's definitely one of my favorite tracks.
So that's like probably the most like stomachable song on this album, next to
definitely. I think So I'll say before I say the songs that I really liked.
Yeah,
I'll say kind of the reason why I had some criticisms is I think something about Alex G. I think the hump that I struggled to get over with Alex G is that in this album he's so he's so nonchalant at times that it almost sounds like uninspired or lazy. And I understand that's the intention of this brand of persona. Right, I get that's his thing, but because of that, some of it doesn't appeal to me as much as I think it would. Although I do find it calming at times, that kind of really laid back, nonchalant, casual.
It makes you like not worry, like it's very like,
oh, yeah, definitely. Well, especially because, like, not to get too deep into the lyricism, but some of the things he's saying, like, especially, I mean, using Mary as an example, saying how, like, he's singing about this girl, Mary, that basically this girl that he wants, and describing her, and it's all very kind of like creepy and like
perverted. Yeah, it's not like it's not like an actual love. He's just
very perverted
with this girl. Like he doesn't care about her. He's literally just like,
but the way that he sings it makes you kind of not even
acknowledge what he's saying.
Yeah, because he's so like casual about it. He's like Mary. Oh yeah, Mary is the girl I want to fuck. Yeah, that's her.
She's got big lips and big wide hips.
Yeah, and I was reading on Genius that the song is about weed, not even because it's like Mary Jane, you know. So I don't know if that's accurate. It could be a double meaning, but
I think it is a double meaning.
I'm sure it is. Yeah,
it's a literal love song. And
then he's certainly got to be a weed smoker. based on listening to this.
He also sucked Frank Ocean's dick.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't necessarily need to know that, but I love Frank Ocean.
No, yeah. Hey, Frank, you gotta shout Frankie Ocean,
Shout out Frank, man. We talked about Frank Ocean on
Frank Ocean.
Early episode of the podcast.
Episode 9.
Something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. Hey, throwback to the old episode.
Throwback, yeah. If you're a Frank Ocean fan and you're hearing this, check out episode whatever,
and then check out this episode to say, oh yeah, so
Frank. So this is the guy that sucked his dick, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh hey, Alex, nice.
I'll put that in the title. Angelic Hoodrat. Trick.
Gets flagged.
Let's not. Yeah, you're probably right. But anyways, yeah.
No, I think it was funny because before I listened to Alex G, my girlfriend's a big Alex G fan, and she's seen him in concert and stuff, and she's like recommended him to me. She's like, you would love Alex G, and not like a way where she recommends me Phoebe Bridgers, and she knows I don't really like sad.
Yeah, but she actually thinks you would.
She actually thought I would like Alex G, and I actually do like Alex G. So it was like, I was like, oh, this guy's a character. He's not just like it's not just sad music and she
right. He's like, yeah, really
he's out there.
Wall. Yeah, definitely out there.
And I watched his Tiny Desk concert, and I recommend that as well. It was really good. He's kind of like a naturally awkward guy, and he's also known for being drunk when he performs. But
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so that's, I guess, between saying, okay, yeah, he's a weed smoker, he's drunk when he performs. That really clears up a lot of things for me, because it goes back to what I was saying about how a lot of the album sounds like really like lazy and unfinished, but that's totally just his brand, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's the I'm just floating on by and
that's cool. Yeah, I think I could get into that for sure, but I does make me almost wish that he was a little more refined, because I think there is maybe in an alternate universe a version of this album that is like very meticulous and well done, and that would make for me like a incredible record.
Yeah,
but that's probably a hot take, because a lot of people probably do like his.
Yeah, I think it goes to the persona. I mean,
yeah, and I think now learning all this, kind of talking about it out loud, having listened to it multiple times, I think I'm going to give this one a third listen for sure.
Yeah,
put myself in the mindset, and embrace the persona.
Yeah, don't smoke a joint and get fucked up and get drunk, but just put yourself in the mind of me.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, first, when you first listen to an album and you have no idea what it sounds like, and you have no idea what the mind state's supposed to be, sometimes you could just get the wrong impression. So.
Next time you drive me home from Will's house over the summer, if we
late at night,
I'm gonna put this on. It's gonna be different. Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, it's honestly, I'm not even listening to it right now, but it's already growing on me just by talking about it, because now I'm kind of understanding it more.
Well, because you got to embrace the guy behind it. Like, this is an album that's like, he's just a dude. He's just like one of us. He's just
and like another thing I read about him is that like his guitar is always out of tune and stuff like that. Like that, like I was some stuff that I was reading about.
He's just a goober, man. Like,
yeah, he is. So I guess there's a market for that, because he's getting pretty famous. No?
Oh yeah. I think the TikTok really blew him up.
Right.
Mary, and then I think he has like a EP or single that came out before Trick that has Treehouse on it.
Okay.
I don't know if you know that song, but
I might if I heard it. But yeah.
TikTok. But yeah, he blew up because of TikTok. Because Mary blew up on TikTok like recently, right. And then I think Sarah has also been on TikTok, and
Sarah was also a solid song. I'd say the songs that
I think he just writes really good music.
Yeah, I'd say the songs that I greatly enjoyed that didn't have any drawbacks to me at all were Advice, which is just really guitar forward. His guitar playing is great, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I think his guitar is like interesting and unique, and I really, really appreciated it because he is, going back to how we were talking about Kenny Mason, he is kind of bringing in pulling from multiple places he has like kind of like some more rock heavy songs, like a little more heavy guitar, more upbeat, kind of fast paced, but he also has a lot of really more laid back psychedelic kind of folk guitar riffs, and he also has some blends. So I think he's a really talented guitarist. I think Advice is a really great song with the heavy guitar. Really takes over the song and brings it to the next level and makes it super appealing to me.
Yeah.
I think Mary, we've talked about Mary a lot. I mean, obviously it's just super catchy and just like I mean, it blew up for a reason. You know, it's everywhere for a reason. And then
just
I'm assuming. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was just that guitar, the doom 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 doom.
Yeah.
It's just stuck in my head always.
Right. It's just catchy, and there's a reason why it's everywhere.
I wanna fuck. I don't know.
And then I'm assuming this track is on Spotify. It's labeled as a bonus track. It's called Adam.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, okay, just making sure because sometimes we've found discrepancies there. But
just for
Adam
the
is the song
album that it mattered, actually.
Yeah, right.
The Patrick Sweeney album.
Yeah,
Patrick Sweeney album.
Yeah,
that was a
dude. Riley was like, "I wish this album was longer," and I'm like, "Longer than an hour and a half? It's already pretty long." And you're like, "What? It's only 40 minutes."
I still can't find those songs either. The only way to listen to them is on Apple Music.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a huge Patrick Sweeney fan as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. I hope we'll get that figured out one day. Next time we're together, I'll get it hooked up for you.
Yeah.
But what was I talking about? Oh, Adam. Yeah, though Alex sings on this song kind of different, but it really works, and I really like the cadence that he sings. Like I don't think the word is flow, I guess, but since that's all I know, is I'll say the flow that he uses is very like it's almost like a Shakespeare poem or something. The way he says it. I don't know, but just the way he goes, it's like he goes like he says like each syllable and then like pauses. Like he says like I'll make a $20 bet, and then like says the next lyric the same way. And I don't know why that really like entertained me, and I liked it a lot.
This album is just, it feels like a bunch of songs that he just wrote over a long span of time, and then finally had enough songs to say, okay, I'm gonna put
now I'm gonna make him an album. Yeah, I mean, obviously we've talked about it a bunch. This is clearly just a dude who like sits in his room with a guitar and like does whatever.
Yeah,
this is like bedroom pop before the bedroom pop wave, I would argue. So,
yeah. This is kind of like, it's funny because we talked about like, I think was it Wilco or Built to Spill, and we were like, oh, these are sounds that you wouldn't expect to come out of 2004.
Yeah, Wilco, with Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. You're like, these are such familiar sounds, yet they're
this is way before I should be hearing them.
Yes, this is. I agree with you on this. Yeah,
I would agree with Trick. It's like, I can't believe this album came out 11 years ago because it sounds like stuff that
right. I mean, well, you look, it's blowing up on TikTok like now. Like people are. It's one of those. It's going to be one of those ones like we also talked about. You know, Oracular Spectacular by MGMT, where it took 3 or 4 years and then it charted. Like people had to realize, you know, which is cool. I think it's really cool when an artist like figures it out before everyone else figures it out.
Right,
like, that's really cool. So I respect Alex G for that. You know,
it's worth it. Like this is like I used to like be so like, oh, I'm not gonna listen to what everything is like, what's popular, like what's on TikTok and all that. But that way of thinking closed my mind off to so much good music because like I did it with Alex G. I was like, I'm not going to listen to Alex G because I hear it all over TikTok and all that. And then I finally gave it a chance and it changed my perspective on it. I'm like, no, there's a reason why this stuff is finally blowing up. It's because it's good. Like it's out there.
Awesome.
It's like this like refreshing sound, even though it's weird. All of these songs are so weird and out there. It's just like refreshing, you know? It's so crisp and well made, and he's just talented. Like he has a good ear naturally.
Yeah, he is. He is like talented in a weird way because when you listen to it, it seems like this is a guy who like doesn't like on the surface. It's like you might think like this is so random and thrown together. Like what am I listening to? But it keeps you and it like reels you in, and you keep listening to it. It's like okay, clearly there is some infectious quality about this that really brings you in and. I can't quite put my finger on it, but he taps into a weird kind of quality with his unique kind of nonchalant vibe that he uses. So I haven't listened to his other records between. I mean, this is like his first album, and I've heard his most recent album. I've heard nothing in between, but I'm sure it's all kinds of crazy
the stuff in between is great too.
What was that? Which one you just say?
It's just all the albums in between are great.
Oh, all of them. Okay, they said a specific one. Yeah.
No, all of them.
Yeah, I've seen this House of Sugar. I've seen this around. That could
I mean, I'm still very new to it too. It's very new to me. So it's
cool.
like
cool.
but this album I know is awesome.
Sweet. Yeah.
What's your top 3?
Yeah, well, before I do that, I was just gonna say I am interested to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested to see where he goes because his most recent album wasn't very good to me. He went like super electronic with it, which is totally not what he did on Trick.
No.
So I don't really know where that came from. But
yeah, I don't know either. I didn't listen to his newest album. So.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's totally different. Like, weird. It doesn't even seem like the same person. I mean, I could be remembering it wrong. I mean, this is like months ago. I mean, this is literally like,
yeah.
I think it came out like in 2022, so it's at least 3 or 4 months ago.
I think
so
November or October or something.
Yeah, it was the fall. Yeah, so I could be remembering wrong. I just remember it being like weirdly electronic. But anyways, as far as top 3 tracks go, I mentioned them. It's going to be Advice, Mary, and Adam for me. Those are my top 3.
Okay, so mine are a little different. I would say Mary, Sarah, and 16 Mirrors.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Sarah is my honorable mention. That's my first one out. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like 16 Mirrors for just closing out the album, which is a pretty song from Sarah.
Yeah, it is like a kind of it is like a pretty beautiful, somber.
Yeah. It's just that ending of the album is just different. Like, it's just great. Like, it just hits different, I guess.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that for sure. So yeah, cool. I guess that's it. Is Trick by Alex G. Yeah, we've already been going for. Does not feel like 57 minutes.
Oh my god, dude. Well, we just talk, man.
Man, we just talk. That's what we do for this podcast.
Yeah. Damn. Okay, so no albums next week because we're doing the new.
Yeah. So next week, I mean, obviously you like listen to whichever out of that big list that you want to. I'm gonna try to get to everything that dropped, which includes a lot. So.
Hey, if I'm sitting there throughout the week and I'm really bored, I will definitely be like listening to the new music that comes out. But I mean, I've already heard the whole Lana album, and I've heard
I'm gonna listen to that
JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown album. So it's not.
I'm gonna re-listen to those to brush up on. For the pod. So
yeah, I'll be bouncing around.
Yeah, cool. So I guess like we said, episode 20. We're gonna be doing. We've mentioned it a couple times. We're gonna be doing Scaring the Hose. We're going to be doing, I don't know what that new Lana Del Rey album is called, but we'll probably mention that a little bit.
Tunnel Under Ocean Avenue or something.
Okay, yeah, some obscure shit that Lana Del Rey would name an album.
She's high on fucking PCP.
Yeah, she's on something for sure. I think we're both kind of interested in that Boy Genius album. I am at least.
I'll listen to it.
I'm definitely listening to the Tyler Deluxe / B-side or whatever it is. And then as a maybe stretch goal, I guess you could say, Fall Out Boy dropped an album, which I am really, and I'm not even interested in it because I want to hear it as much as I'm interested in. Fanboy. Yeah, I'm interested in it because I feel like I guess I do want to hear it, but I'm interested to see just like what are these guys doing in 2023? They've been around forever, so
they're long gone.
Like I'm extremely curious what that's going to sound like.
You want to know what's funny? Abby texted me at like in the middle of the night last night. I was sleeping, and she texted me. Panic at the Disco is so good. And I was like, okay, hold on. What era of Panic at the Disco?
2007 or earlier, hopefully.
Yeah, the first album. That's it. That's all I really listen to.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what are you listening to recently? What music you got?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been a little busy, but I mean, obviously, I'm always listening to music.
Yeah, you're always
excuse, so. Yeah, I mentioned earlier a little bit. Dogtooth came out today. I listened to that a few times today, and it's a solid one.
Yeah, you're already quoting lines from it, so it must be.
I am already quoting lines from it because they're just absolutely absurd. So
it's awesome that B-side Tyler is still amazing songs.
Yeah, he tweeted something like, for the first time in my career, like I've recorded an album and like I had to cut songs. Like he's like, there's songs that I like that I couldn't release, so he's like, I'm just gonna release them.
This B-side's gonna be fucking amazing.
I think it's gonna be probably just as good as the album by the sounds of it. I don't know, but yeah. So Dogtooth has been good. On the bus to Pennsylvania at 3 a.m., I listened to Sling, and that was a great decision.
Oh, that's a classic album. It grows on me all the time,
dude. Literally, every time I listen to it, so I'll say my favorite. Well, I guess it's only two. So the Claro album I prefer is Immunity, but every time I hear Sling, it gets closer and closer. So one day that could be different, but yeah. Cool. I mentioned earlier Oracular Spectacular, MGMT. I think I mentioned them a couple times today
past
because
few weeks actually.
Yeah, because I like that album a lot, and I listened to it again this week.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Other than you know what I listened to, man? You know what I listened to? I listened to Forward by Jordan Ward, who opened for JID and Smino.
No way. How was it?
Yeah,
I never
really
listened.
good. Like he's actually really good. He's really talented.
Okay, I will. What is it called? Forward.
Forward.
Which we have to talk about that album.
Yeah, we can. You know what? It's not. It came out March 3rd, so it's a little delayed, but we can throw that on to the to next week.
We should talk about that concert too.
Yeah, we should. We
we didn't have an episode last week.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say. So now it's been 2 weeks since the concert because we didn't talk last week. But holy shit!
Me and Rosario saw one of our favorite artists, JID, Jid, whatever you want to call it, and that set was so amazing. Like I remember checking the set like 3 songs in to see what was left because I was already like, "Whoa, what's like,
bro?
What does he have left?" And then the next time I checked the set list to see what he was ending with was like song 13. I was like, "Whoa!" I'm like all the way through.
Yeah, he played a lot of songs. I mean, I'll say I won't, just in case, I won't spoil the exact songs that he played, but he played 1 song from The Never Story and 4 songs from DiCaprio 2. And if I handpicked the set list, I could not pick a better 4 songs from DiCaprio.
He didn't need to. You know what? And I was kind of nervous because I saw the set list before, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like The Never Story is really good, but I saw him already, and he played a lot. I saw him at a music festival.
Right. Well, that was like 6 years ago.
Never Story. I saw him. He played a lot of Never Story. So. I think I didn't really miss out, but I think you didn't either because he played the best song off of it.
No, I mean, The Never Story still has a very special place in my heart, but I understand it's 6 years later. He's not going to be playing those songs, every show.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think of the song that I really wanted to hear was what it goes. It's like activation.
Slick Talk. Yeah, that one would have been sweet. But like I said, the songs that he did play with DiCaprio 2 were incredible.
Disgusting.
And then the last song he played, Stick, just blew the roof off the place.
Dude. Okay, I just gotta can I tell the crowd what the second to last song was too as well?
Yeah, I mean, all right. So, disclaimer: if you're
not spoiling it,
so if you don't want the track list or the set list spoiled, then
you can. If you don't want to be spoiled on JID content, just stop watching now because
thanks for getting this far, but
thank you guys. But I'm going to be talking about the set list. So he ended the set list with 151. There was no encore either. He just did a straight set, which is way better, I think, in my opinion. I like a straight set because you get more songs in a row. But he ended with 151 Rum and Stick, which, if for those that don't know, Stick is a Dreamville collab that I brought up actually in this episode as Kenny Mason, Shaq West, J. Cole, all that kind of stuff. Great song. Fucking it's a rager song, but not in a way that you can just like jump and have fun. And so 151 Rum, all the group that we were all with was right next to the pit. Like we were right next to the mosh.
We were like in the mix.
And the whole time we were dancing around, jumping. And Rosario was wanting to rap. And I think in 151 Rum, I was waiting for everybody to kind of merge into the pit a little bit, but then never really happened. So at 151 Rum, as a GID fan, or for those that don't know 151 Rum, it's probably one of his most high octane solo songs. It's
fast. I think it's probably his fastest rapping of his career.
Beats per minute and fastest rapping. So fun. And they kind of sped it up a little bit, but it sounded amazing. So I jump into the pit and bounce off the other side of the wall. So we're on the right side so stage left, I guess.
Yeah.
And I bounce all the way to the other side of the pit. And I'm jumping around for like half the song. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done in here. And I look over and all I see is Rosario and he's wearing a hoodie inside. And I grab and jump.
From my perspective, 151 Rum started. I'm like, where did Riley go? Because we were like, okay, so there was like the middle, which was like the pit. And then it kind of like, as you got outwards, got like less and less like crazy.
It was just we were like,
right, yeah, we were like on like the first layer outside of like the main craziness. So like we were like,
we were
close, but
jumping
not.
around, but most
Yeah,
of
we
the
were
time
jumping around,
we
but
were
like,
able to watch the show.
yeah, exactly. So in the middle, they were like raging, and then so I see it in 151 Rum starts, and Riley starts going absolutely nuts, and then like a minute later, I see him turn around. He like lunges out of the crowd and like grabs me, and I had to pull him back into like out of the
I kind of like boosted. I kind
rage.
of did one of those where I like kind of almost like it probably didn't seem like much to you because it probably just seemed like I bumped into you.
Yeah,
Because
I just saw you coming towards me.
I just like grabbed you and then like kind of like steadied myself and like on your like I was behind you. And then I was like, dude, did you see I was gone? You're like, no. I was like, dude, I've been gone for like 2 minutes.
Dude, I was in my own world, man. Well, what happened is we were kind of like we weren't in the back. We were still like close, but
we were really close, dude. We were like,
well, yeah. Well, I'm saying at first, like for when Smino came out, so it was
Yeah.
Smino and Smino first, and JID. For Smino, we were like a further back, but then at the end of Smino's set, or like as his set was finishing, our friend that we were with, Joey, like we just like all like locked arms and we like pushed like way forward, like way like to the middle front of the stage.
You grabbed me
Yeah.
on my jacket. Like,
Yeah. Well,
jacket.
everyone. Okay, so what happened is like whatever the last song Smino played, everyone was going crazy, jumping around, and it basically caused an opportunity for you to like sneak through while people were jumping around. So we got up to the.
I was in the
close
back.
To the front.
I got stuck in the back because I'm like the tallest out of us. Me and you are probably the tallest.
We're the tallest, yeah.
And so I was in the back with you kind of, and remember that one guy that was jumping on me and elbowing me? Dude, like the first Smino song, I got this dude just hold on my shoulder, jump, and just like go crazy, and I got an elbow in the neck.
Dude, I saw it. I'm like, I gotta get Riley out of there. So I think I pulled you over.
You pulled me in front of you. You're like, dude, you gotta get out of there. Like,
the crowd was crazy. I mean, they weren't like disrespectful or not like everyone was just having fun.
I loved looking around. Like every time I got tired or I was like had to take a shit or something like that. Like I had to pee like a bunch. Like at the end there, I had to pee so bad. But then like every time I was like, oh man, I should go to the bathroom. But I knew I was gonna lose my spot.
Yeah, I mean, you could push back, but it's tough.
But then like I looked around and everybody was happy. A huge smiles. Even the people in the pit were just like his smiles on everybody's faces.
The crowd was amazing.
That was the first time that I saw like a happy crowd, even in the pit. Like people were just having fun. Like I picked up a guy that had fallen over. Like it was fun. And that stick song, we opened up the whole floor, the first floor. So we were at the Fillmore in Detroit. And if anybody knows the Fillmore, it's like the main floor is 3 tiers of floors. So it's general standing and they have like little rails and stuff, but the main floor is like bigger. And so we were at that main floor and we were probably like 4 or 5 people deep. But this fucking floor opens to where we're almost pushed back to the back rail of this like first zone.
Mm-hmm.
You could lay down. You could have 3 people lay down, like head to foot.
It was huge, and it wasn't just like a circle. It was like a landing strip. They like parted the sea.
Yes,
remember? It was like across the whole floor. They opened it up, and then when the beat dropped for stick, like everyone like jumped into it and went fucking crazy.
And I loved it because you grabbed. I went to go. You were in front of me, so Rosario was on the edge of the pit, and he was like, he looked back at me. He's like, "Holy fuck!" And I'm like, "You're jumping into this shit." Do you remember?
I'm like, damn straight.
You know, I'm like, dude, you jump as far as you can in the center, and I kind of like, I don't know how I got in front of you, but I got to like next to you.
Yeah.
And I jumped in first, and then you grabbed onto my shoulder. And then I like, once I knew I was held onto, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm set.
Yeah, I was hanging on to everybody. Everyone was grabbing onto each other.
Held onto him, and like your stepbrother was there. Dude, it was so fun. Everyone
I jumped, dude, when Stick came on, I jumped so high. Like there was a moment at the concert. There was a couple of moments actually from me jumping so high, but there was a moment where I jumped and I literally saw like everything. Like I was like, for a split second, I was like a bird above everybody. I saw everyone's head, and I was like eye level with the performers. Man, we were going crazy.
Yeah, that was so fun, and I think incredible. It was so good because like that was like one of the first concerts for me that it was like I knew every song to the point where I could rap it back to the artist. Like it was like. Because I saw him at Mo Pop in 2019 or 2020 when DiCaprio 2 came out. And that was kind of like, it was kind of rough because I got into the back and I was kind of in like a smaller like area with like a pit and all that. But I didn't get to like really see him and he had a short set. This was like 151 Realm was going on and he was on our side of the stage and it felt like he was like rapping to us.
It did. It was like a surreal experience, honestly.
It was,
like
it was amazing. He sounded great. And him and Christo at the end of I love Christo as a producer, great producer,
He does a great job,
yeah, all that. And Christo and him came out and just ripped their shirts off and like were jumping around stick.
Just going ballistic, man. Everyone was going ballistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a time, man.
It'll
be tough to top that concert for me.
No, man, that was perfect. I would never have it any other way.
I completely agree. Like I said, I could not have handpicked a better set list for a concert. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's so fun. Damn. Dude, I kept that that main floor wristband on for like a week.
Really? I made my old lock screen used to be here. I'll change it back. You have like the multiple lock screens now. My old lock screen used to be a picture of JID on stage.
Yeah.
And I changed it back after the concert. I changed it back to this lock screen of JID on stage. Yeah. And every time I looked at my phone, I would just get like a memory of just seeing JID on stage and just like a deja vu of being at the concert. It's awesome, man.
Yeah. It was such a good concert too. It was probably the best rap concert. I mean, I don't know. J. Cole was really good.
J. Cole was awesome, but the difference is like J. Cole, we weren't like in the pit. Like we were like 200 yards away from J. Cole. Like we were like 20 feet away from J.
Yeah. We like across. Yeah. We could like, yeah, we could see his sweat getting thrown.
Yeah. Literally we were so close. Well, we waited.
We were getting water bottles thrown on us. That's how close.
Yeah. We waited for 2 hours. So
yeah, that sucked. That honestly, like it was cold as fuck.
Well, yeah, it did. I mean, I already said it like a million times, but so it was St. Patrick's Day, and we figured like, okay, the bars will be like crowded as hell. We pull up to the bar/restaurant before the show, not a soul in there. We literally got in and out, and like,
dude, that was probably the best thing to happen though, because we got
it was. I'm saying it allowed us to like, okay, like if we're just gonna stand outside for 2 hours now, we have nothing else to do. So, but yeah, it was great.
The only people ahead of us were the VIPs and the fast lane people,
right? Which I mean, I guess it's a little stupid because we just pushed through to the front anyways. But obviously, the further back you are, the harder it is. So yeah. I don't regret anything, man. No, when we look back on the memories of that, we're not going to remember standing.
And outside. Even before, shout out to the dude that hustled us, that hustled Joey and Connor. And Connor fucked up really bad.
Connor made a bet with a homeless dude and lost.
Yeah, shout out to Connor, but he's a smart kid, but he's fucking stupid. So
that was stupid. Yeah, that
was a stupid social thing because there was this homeless vet guy that was definitely trying to scalp us while we were in line, and he comes around, talks to our buddy who's wearing a Lions varsity jacket.
Yeah, that's how it started.
NFL, and he's like, "Oh man, you don't." And then we were like, "Yeah, whatever." And then he whips out the fucking the pins. So if you don't know, Detroit has a lot of people, scalpers in a lot of cities, but I don't know if a lot of cities have the vet scalpers who come around with vet pins and are like, "Oh, you should."
I've never seen it in any other city, but I guess I haven't really.
I've seen that. I've seen that guy, and I see that guy all the time down there. And well, I guess I am down there way more than you, even before going to school.
You're down there every day.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
But yeah, I've seen that, and so what he does is he'll talk to you. And then he'll whip out these little like American flag pins that are probably like 5 cents a piece. He's like, "Oh, give some change to a vet. Give some change to a vet." And it's just like, oh man, like he's a vet. And then he's pressing you. He's already started a conversation. Like who thought? So you thought that he was like staff or Dylan or your roommate?
Yeah, my roommate was like, my roommate thought he was security. I'm like, brother, that is a homeless man trying to sell you pins. And I know. Here's what happened. I know not to take the pins because I know they're going to ask for money. Like I already know that, man.
I just say I don't have cash because I'm not giving that.
I know, and now here's what happened. My roommate Dylan, God bless his soul, not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Actually didn't have any cash on him. Like legitimately did not bring cash to the concert. Took the pin and I had to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Dylan took the pin. And
he pressed you too. He saw you open your wallet.
Yeah. And like, I opened my wallet and I was going to give the guy $1. And then I opened my wallet and I had a $5 in there and the guy goes, "Give me that $5." And I'm like, man, you're convinced.
Was your only cash in your wallet too? That sucked. That was like,
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. I gave him the $5, man. Good thing
Yeah,
I didn't
just
open my
get
wallet
out
and
of
have a
here.
$100 bill right there. I'm
Oh
not
my
stupid enough
god,
to do
dude,
that
that would have
though.
been hell. That's why I didn't open on my wallet. I had like $20 in my wallet.
I know, man. I know. I should have just been like, no, but he was such a nice guy. So it's like
He did chat with us for a while, but
he,
then
he talked to us for like 20 minutes.
Connor was being a fucking I'm gonna call it Connor being a douchebag and being like, oh, that frat isn't at U of M. I'm at U of M. And then a chick called them out and was like, yeah, no, it's the purple and gold. I forgot what they're called, but
I forget
they were at Eastern and they're at Wayne, and I know that. But it's like primarily a black frat. And Connor's like, oh, it's not a social frat. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. You lost a bet. He bet $5 with this dude, and he didn't have cash. Did he ever pay that guy?
I'm not sure what happened.
I think Joey got him, but
Probably.
That was a funny experience.
It was definitely a memory for sure. Made the time go by, I guess, while we were waiting outside. That was like half an hour gone right there.
Yeah, that was an experience.
But yeah.
Yeah, he was also the same guy that called. So I went down there one time with my mom, and we saw a hockey game. And we were going to this bar before, and it was like a Friday night, so it was really packed down there. And we go to this bar, and there's no parking in the parking lot, and then we try to go park on the street, and they did this like kind of thing where they block you into a no parking zone, and they're like, oh, they'll help you out if you give them like $5. That's kind of the scheme. And then my mom, and she kind of like caught on right as she got into the spot, because it was like a one way as well, like so you couldn't like turn around or like whatever. And that guy, he's like walking up helping her park, and she's like, oh fuck, I'm gonna get cornered right here because it's a no parking. And the guy's like, oh no honey, it's all good. And she's like, no way, this guy's calling me fucking honey. Who does he think he's? The same guy. He's like, oh, this goes to a vet relief. And she's like, no, I donate to my foundations and shit. And he's like, oh, really? And she's like, no, I'm not going to stay here long. I'm going to be gone. And he's like, oh, there's a racist ass white bitch, all this kind of stuff. And then he's like, if I was a white boy, you'd be giving me $20 right now. There's a racist ass white bitch, and like yelling at everybody. And she's just like, what the fuck? Like she walks inside and the place is packed. So we just left. And then he was still harassing her as we walked back into the car. And it's just like, I can never forget that guy. I'm like, bro,
I mean, the same dude.
First time I've ever been harassed downtown either, like in Detroit. Like people are usually really chill, like even the homeless people and the people that are asking for money. And usually it's like a sorry, and they're like, oh, it's okay, God bless, whatever. And then that guy was the only guy that I'd ever the only crackhead that I'd ever been confronted by.
Yeah. Well, I found out the secret to not getting hustled by those guys after Sean was gone. Another guy came up and tried to get us to buy a pin, and all of us just said, I already got one. And then he walked right away. So next time you're in Detroit and you're getting hustled for the vet pin, just say you already have one. And hopefully they'll just walk away, because you don't need two. So.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I got one.
Yeah, me too. But I actually did have one because fucking Dylan made me buy one. So
it's funny. I threw mine away. I'm like, no fucking way I'm going to wear this shit, dude.
You can't wear it. They'll probably approach you to wear it.
That's what I said. That's what I said to you. I'm like in no fucking way. Dylan was like, oh, I'm gonna put this on right now. I'm like, don't wear that shit.
Don't.
Everyone here is gonna know you got scammed if you wear that shit.
Yeah. Damn.
So
like I said, man, good story.
Fun experience, fun concert.
Fun experience, yeah.
Great time driving home too. Great everything. It was fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, dude.
Yeah. So.
But
is that it for this week? Is this our Oh, I didn't say what I was listening to.
Oh, true. Yeah. What do you got? Anything fun?
Steve Lacy. Kind of got back into Steve Lacy.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Yeah.
With some Apollo. Excuse me. Apollo 18 or whatever his album 2 albums ago came out was.
Yeah. That's the one with like the dog on it, right?
Yeah. No. It's
the orange one.
Yeah. Basement Jack's on there.
Okay.
I got into Hers. This band Hers. It's 2 guys, and then they like died in a car crash or whatever, and they're really good. I got into this band called The Moss. It's kind of they're kind of like Backseat Lovers-esque, really good. What else? I guess it's been a little bit. I guess that's it. Listening to a lot of Jack Johnson, just the usual, like
me too.
Riley shit, like
Did I tweeted earlier today? I was listening to just one of my playlists, and I listened to "Better Together" by Jack Johnson. And then the next song that came on was "Stop Breathing" by Cardi, and that was like the most violent transition. It was the most violent transition I ever heard in my life. I literally felt like I got punched in the face, and like my heart stopped. It was something special.
Yeah. I've also been listening to let's see. I'm checking a Cream. I've still been listening to heavy on Cream right now. Delicate Steve. You ever listen to Delicate Steve? Love Delicate Steve.
I did when I was at your house the other week.
Oh yeah. We did listen to Delicate Steve. Okay. Big Thief, still rocking Big Thief. Some Capacity. This like French band called Fevel is Glach. Have I ever told you about them?
I think also when I was at your house.
Yeah. I think this is very recent stuff. So I've been listening to the same stuff recently. But the Growlers, I got into the Growlers. Some Sling, honestly. You know what? Zinnias. I love Zinnias.
That's my favorite song too.
That's adorable. That's a great song.
It is, yes.
The album Racoma by Racoma, as I've been listening to all heavy, some Hotel Ugly. My sister got me into Hotel Ugly, kind of like an R&B kind of.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Dominic Fike, kind of a little bit of like that R&B, like rock inspired stuff.
Cool.
That's it. Kind of like chiller stuff, like not a lot of sad stuff, kind of happier stuff, kind of trying to feel good. So yeah, dude. Well, I think that's it for us, everybody.
I think so. Yeah.
This has been the Classic Mix-Up. I've been Riley. That's Rosario. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll do this until we can't anymore, or even when people aren't listening, we'll be doing this. So
one day we will run out of music. One day we will have listened to every album in the world. That's our goal.
Yes, to listen to everything. One day it's going to be like super weird techno fusion shit, and we're going to be like,
it's already getting a little weird, but I'm down for that.
I love it.
Me too.
Yeah, expands my listening. So
which is the whole objective of this, is to expand ours and yours.
Chat and show people some good music and all that. Sure. So everybody stay happy out there. It's kind of shitty. It's that second winter right now. Like.
Yeah, the free trial of spring is over.
Yeah. Free trial of spring is over. Realistically, a month until real spring and summer in Michigan, at least. In most places, the same thing too. It's going to be a little gray, a little rainy, but the phrase April showers, spring May flowers. Remember, so those shitty days in April are going to bring beautiful days in May, June.
And I cannot wait.
I can't wait either. I can't wait for the summer. It's going to be a great summer, I think.
I agree.
So everybody stay safe and healthy out there. I know there's some flus going around too. So just wash your hands. Just make sure you go to the doctors if you're sick, because no one wants to be really, really sick, So, love one another. Be happy. Peace, love, positivity, all that kind of shit. So I'll keep it short and sweet this week.
Cool. Yeah, those were the wise words from Riley. So if you made it this far, thank you for listening. That was episode 19. Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Yeah. Find us on Classic Mix-Up Pod everywhere.
Okay, bye.
See ya.